what's up, world? Once again, on the road, it's Fanatics View, exclusive interview with one of the best, legendary, well before his time. And, the guy's only 20 years old. So, it's the Schmo. That's all you need to know. You see him on camera, it's the Schmo. But once again, it's your boy, Pop DIBIASE, the primetime capper, and it's another exclusive. But this is a good friend of mine in the media. Well, we shouldn't say good friends because we're all competitive, but this is somebody that I do acknowledge is one of the best, and he's one of the hardest workers, and it's an honor and a pleasure to have him here with us today. Schmo, how you doing, and how did you wind up here at the Super Bowl?
Well, that's quite an introduction, my man. Wow, 20 years young for the Schmo. Wow, you're just making the Schmo feel good right here.
Hey. Because you're the Schmo, and you already know. See, Schmo has a style of his own, and everybody knows that. So, pretty much, the Schmo is going to Schmo, okay?
The Schmo's going to Schmo. Yeah. The Schmo cut his teeth doing Super Bowl Radio Row stuff for years, and then we took the past 2 years off. We had the pandemic. The last one was 2020 in Miami, and now we're back. Bread and butter was the Schmo doing NFL and NBA content, but it stuck. Doing combat sports. We enjoy our boxing. We enjoy our mixed martial arts. And let the Schmo just say, we're glad to be here. Otherwise, where would we be? What, Perth, Australia? Not a bad place to be. But we're here in beautiful Arizona. The Schmo lives in Las Vegas, so it's nice to be here. Super Bowl, you got the Eagles. You got KC. You got Mahomes against Jalen Hurts. You got two prolific offenses. Are we going to get a defensive MVP? The Schmo wants to find out.
Hey. It's the Schmo. And you guys, if you guys really know, if you didn't know, because I think you do know, but this is a Chicago kid right here. And since he's a Chicago kid, he's living in a little bit of misery with his Chicago Bears right now. Just like, hey, it happens. You know what I mean? It happens. So tell us about the state of your Chicago Bears and Justin Fields moving forward.
Well, the Schmo likes that we have the first overall pick, I guess. If you're going to stink worse than anybody else, you got the first overall pick. At least we have a quarterback of the future. Maybe you trade down, you get a bunch of assets. But here's the biggest problem. We have no help on the offensive line. Protect this quarterback. He has to do everything. Give this guy weapons. You had a great linebacker. The Schmo was just chopping up with the legend Brian Urlacher yesterday, okay? Brian Urlacher and the Schmo were talking about how many holes this Bears team has, but they traded Roquan Smith, a guy that you could build around, a guy who you might consider a monster of the midway in the future. You traded him away. He's now in Baltimore. He's a building block. You've had great things. Let me ask you this. How many great first-round picks have the Bears had in the past decade?
I would say maybe 2 or 3.
Who would they be?
Well, I guess we could say Justin Fields was somewhat successful as his maturation keeps going, and Roquan as well too. But the third, that is kind of tough.
You can make an argument, and maybe it's Kyle Fuller. Guess what? He's no longer with the team. The Bears have not been drafting good. They've not been doing what's right for this franchise. And you got a hungry fan base that supports this team thick and thin. They want a winning product. We haven't seen them get to the Super Bowl since, 2005, 2006 season? Enough is enough.
All right. Well, Schmo is hot. But Schmo, who do you want? Okay, if you walk into the office and they say you're the one handing the card on draft night, okay, who's going to be on your card for draft night, the number 1 pick for your Chicago Bears?
The Schmo's trading that number 1 pick. Why? Because a team that wants the number 1 overall pick needs a quarterback. The Bears don't need a quarterback. Get as much assets as you can. As many picks, pile it up, because this team's got a lot of holes. They need help. You were 3-14. 3-14.
Wow. Well, I'm just going to ask a quick question, since the Chicago Bulls, still really are like the landlords of the city, because that's me overlooking the Blackhawks as well, too, because they are your
Cubs.
Yeah,
but the Schmo's a White Sox fan, but I got to give credit where it's due.
I know about Schmo, that he's a White Sox fan. We weren't going to acknowledge the Cubs here. We're going to acknowledge the White Sox, Southside guys. You know what I mean? So, the Cubs get all the coverage. They're Disney. And we all know what the Southside. We all know what the Southside guys are. We know what the Southside's all about. Nice Chicago, real Chicago. We know how it goes. So your Chicago Bulls. They haven't been much since Jordan. So where do you see them going in the future? And do you think they are a playoff team this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, they've got some good pieces around them. The Schmo likes the DeMar DeRozan signing. I mean, the Bulls are a formidable team. They're a playoff contending team. Now, are they one of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference? No. But they have building blocks. They have good young talent. They've been drafting well. The one regret the Schmo always has is because we also went to the University of Arizona. Lauri Markkanen, where is he now? Utah, what is he now? An all-star. What did he do? He just dunked all over you the other night. Highlight reel. Lauri Markkanen can play ball. Would not have gotten rid of Lauri Markkanen. But they got some ball players in their playoff team. And, listen, it's hard to replicate what the GOAT, Michael Jordan, you want to argue with LeBron? We'll take that any day of the week. Jordan is the GOAT. What he did for the city of Chicago. And it's going to be hard for anyone to come in there. I mean, Derrick Rose tried. We had a great opportunity. Then he got injured in the postseason. And, that year could have been the shot. With Joakim Noah and the boys, Gibson, that could have been the year.
Man, hey, and you know what? That Chicago team was way funner to watch than LeBron's Cavs. I'll keep it real. And you know what? What he just said, I don't argue with nobody about this because I'm from the era, so I understand how it works. Because at the end of the day, Jordan had some real competition where guys were going to challenge him, but he's still going to crush you. LeBron has guys where they're going to challenge him and crush him at the same time too, because he's going to have to be the guy to do everything pretty much, and then he keeps getting beat by great teams. So it shows that no individual can overpower anybody because Michael Jordan became the greatest teammate as well, too. That's what a lot of people never acknowledge.
Yeah, the one thing the Schmo will say is, I don't like this brand of basketball. Nobody plays defense. I'm sick of these 130 to 125 scores. Like, listen, you got to play both ends of the court. It's got to be a struggle here. This game's a different game. The Schmo doesn't like it. I mean, obviously the athleticism's different now. The sports and technology is a little bit different now. The science is different. But the game has evolved to nobody's playing defense. The Schmo doesn't like that.
Understood, because nobody should be scoring 150 weekly at all, and especially if you're the worst team in the league. Nah, that shouldn't be happening. But let's get into Schmo's thing, though. Schmo is like the UFC, Bellator, all that MMA. It's like you're all the great announcers in one when it comes to the UFC MMA, because I always see you having some of the greatest questions and things like that. How do you feel MMA can teach boxing some lessons?
Well, here's what we're at. The best fight the best. Why hasn't Terrence Crawford fought Errol Spence Jr.? Why haven't we gotten the final announcement of Tank Davis versus Ryan Garcia? Because the best don't fight the best. Maybe we're going to get a little lucky that Benavidez is fighting Plant. No title on the line, but it's a very important fight for that division because the next guy who wins that fight arguably is going to be fighting for the title. That's just how it works. Now, here's the deal with MMA. These guys aren't so caught up on the records. Everyone's going to lose in anything you do in life. When it comes to boxing, people, oh my God, he's got a loss in his record. Oh, we should pad it up. Let's get this guy fighting a cab driver, a guy who's a painter, a guy who's 2-15. You don't see that in mixed martial arts at the top level, and that's the difference of the two sports.
All right, so let's get into the business of the game, and we know the biggest name in UFC is on his way back, Conor McGregor. Do you think Conor
John
will?
Jones too. Yeah, I got you. No, it is Conor
McGregor. We all know John's the GOAT, but you know how it goes. But real quick on Conor, how are you feeling about Conor coming back? Will his impact still be as great as it was prior? Because he done made some money now, and he done caught some cases too. And some people, and he's not the most likable like he was maybe 5 years ago. Because he's had some, he had some real off the mat issues. So how do you expect? And will he ever be a champion again in UFC? That's my biggest question.
It's all about winning. If he wins, winning cures all. Winning, he'll be just as popular, if not more popular. Day and age of social media, even stronger now. Will he ever be a champion again? No.
Wow. All right. Now, we saw a very big name leave USC, and Francis Ngannou. You are so pretty much. I know I probably pronounced it
Yeah,
wrong,
you
but
butchered that pretty
I
bad,
butchered
my
it
man.
pretty bad. He's Francis is probably gonna punch me out when he sees
How do
me.
you say his name?
Nagano, Ninganu. Sorry, man. What you call it? I haven't been in high school in 19 years, so I haven't been in a language arts class a year. So if I had something that sounded, I probably would have got it right. So and it's still early. We had a good night last night, so you know how it goes. So
I can't blame you.
all right, but Francis, where do you see him going next? And do you think his leaving the UFC is very significant, and will it impact the heavyweight division as well too?
Well, of course it's significant, but the machine goes on. The UFC is a marketing machine. They always don't miss a beat. They were continuing to beat the drum without Conor McGregor. They're going to do the same thing without Francis Ngannou. And guess what? He's gone, slipped right in. John Bones Jones fighting in heavyweight against Cyril Gane. March 4th, T-Mobile Arena, pay-per-view. There you go. Now, Francis Ngannou, if he parlays this to get the big paychecks and gets those boxing fights and he bet on himself, then it will work. If he can fight Deontay Wilder or if he can fight a Tyson Fury, regardless if it's a 4-ounce gloves or he just does traditional boxing and he gets that payday, yes, it was worth it for him.
Oh, okay. So, what big fight that's coming up that doesn't have a big name to it, but a big fight in your world that needs to be promoted a little bit heavier in UFC?
Well, where do you want the Schmo to start? The Schmo can't wait for March 4th for seeing Schmo Nickel. Bo Nickel, he's going up there against Jamie Pickett. Everyone can't wait to see his UFC debut. You remember he had to fight not once but twice in the Contender Series. Finished his opponent's first round. The guy's super impressive. And Schmo Nickel, he's the real deal. One of the most decorated, if not the most decorated, collegiate wrestlers going into MMA. You got to pay attention to him.
All right, and we are in the we've been at a lot of these boxing pressers together, Schmo, and we've been bugging since I met you. We've been bugging for Crawford and Spence. Do you have any intel or any idea that we're really going to get this fight?
It's all about money and it's all about egos. One of these guys is going to put their egos aside, and for the other guy, that's the only way it's going to work. The Schmo fears this is becoming just like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Money Mayweather when they fought too late in their mid to late 30s. That sucked. The fans lost. That could happen. Now there's this guy, Jaron Ennis, that might have something to say about that in this division. This guy keeps winning, keeps doing these things. This thing might just fly by and the fans miss out.
Now, it looks like it's going to be Thurman and Spence. And I talked to Steven Espinosa yesterday, and they're trying to get that deal done. But it looks like the venue possibly could be Jerry's World. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, Errol Spence Jr., he's done it before. Didn't he fight Mikey Garcia there, too? So it's familiar. It's hometown. Keith one-time Thurman. I thought he went up, and now he's going back down to the weight class. I mean, he's a great opponent, championship fighter. It's still not Spence Crawford, but it's a great fight.
And do you think this could be his toughest fight today? Because Thurman got street cred, real street cred. Yeah, he got one loss, but you know who he beat.
100% it could be his toughest fight to date, absolutely. But is it going to be as tough as Terrence Bud Crawford? We both know the answer to that.
And you know, and I know. All right, so, man, you just brought up Planet Benavidez. That's our next big pay-per-view. How do you see that fight playing out, Schmo?
How do I see it playing out? I think Plant, he's going to get him early, but if Benavidez connects with that power, I mean, there you go, man. I don't think Plant's power is going to be putting him out. I think Plant's motivated. He's been there in the trenches. And you got Benavidez. I think it's going to come down to will in this fight. Who's going to want it more? Who's going to be hungrier? Because it's not going to be one of those fights or who's the more talented fighter, who's the more conditioned fighter. They're both in shape. They both got talent. They both styles make fights. It's going to come down to the will. It's going to come down to the dog. Who's going to want it more?
Love it. Love it. And this is the boxing match that we do need at this time of the year, especially in March Madness month as well. And do you dabble with a little bit of college basketball?
Schmo used to, but now we got all this combat sports. We still love the NFL. I mean, there's only one Schmo, man. We can't be everywhere. We like the Arizona Wildcats. I mean, that's the Schmo's alma mater. I don't think they're going to win it, though, but we do like Tommy Lloyd and what he's doing for the program. March Madness is fun, but listen, the Schmo's been so knee-deep in MMA and boxing and NFL and all this other stuff. Like, something's had to take a back burner.
Oh, man. Well, let me get back to a little bit of UFC right now. Now, we see a lot of guys. We see Jake Paul ready to do both. Like, maybe Jake might do both of them in one night or one day. You know what I mean? UFC fight at noon and boxing match at 9. What about that?
I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think Jake Paul does the MMA till 2024. Let him do the boxing thing. I think he'll do it. Big things for the PFL, but give the guy time to learn some BJJ and some other skills that he'll need for the ground and just for grappling in general, and we'll see him in the cage soon enough.
Okay, so I got a few more questions for you. Now, the fight that needs to be made in UFC right now that fans are demanding, but they might be playing a little bit of boxing rules towards it. What fight is that?
Schmo can't say one off the top of the mind right now because the best are fighting the best. I would say, before they announced Michael Chandler fighting Conor McGregor, it would be his turn to fight some of the young guns like the Gamrots or the Arman Sarukians. But now we're going to see a lot of the top guys. We're going to see Beneil Dariush against Charles Oliveira. The Schmo specifically talking 155 right here. 170 pounds, you're getting Leon Edwards and Usman 3. I mean, Colby Covington, everyone wants to see him back in action, but he's got this legal issue. And then you got Bilal Muhammad waiting the wings to fight him. That's the thing. The Schmo can't complain when it comes to UFC. The best are fighting the best. And if you think for 1 second that that's not the case, they'll make the fight, and you'll be like, okay, the fans win.
All right, and let's talk a little bit about boxing's heavyweight division, and then I'm going to ask you to rank your Chicago teams in order. So I got to explain that to you so you can give it to me the right order, because people they'll always just start throwing out just stuff, and
No, I got you.
Yeah.
1A, 1B, 1C.
Right. See, Schmo gets it. He gets it. This is why I deal with this guy. I don't deal with many in media, but I deal with this guy. So, all right, heavyweights. Deontay Wilder, AJ, Fury. Are they still the big three of the heavyweight division? And if you really want to get the big bag and the big views, are they those guys?
You got to throw Usyk into the equation. We'll see what Usyk does against Fury. That's what we have to see. Now, if Usyk can shock the world, would it be shocking the world? Would it be a shocker to you if he beat Tyson Fury?
You know what, Schmo, you might say you crazy, Pop, but I think Usyk has the best chance of anybody that he's fought ever, because how good and how complete Usyk is as a boxer. This is a real fight. This actually reminds me of a fight back in the 80s that never gets acknowledged, but it was the night Larry Holmes lost his O, and that was against Michael Spinks, and this fight is really living up to that billing.
So that fight happens and that result happens, you throw Usyk's name right up there. But until that happens, the Schmo does agree, if that's what you were saying. You got to go with Wilder, Joshua, and Fury. They're still up there in the upper echelon. You throw in the Usyks, you throw in the Francis Ngannous in the equation. It's an exciting time to be the baddest man of the planet.
Right. And one more question about the heavyweights. How do you think that we get AJ Wilder within the next 18 months, and will it still be the biggest heavyweight match of the 21st century?
Here's the Schmo's thoughts. Mark this one down. I think we see Wilder Ngannou before we see Wilder AJ.
Wow. Will it be in America or will it be in Nigeria?
Could be in Africa.
Because we know that Deontay's been trying to get sites in Nigeria, and he said he wants to do a big fight in Africa. So I think that would be the perfect candidate for Deontay in that situation. So, hey, beautiful, beautiful stuff. But I know Schmo, he has a lot of people to see, and he's probably giving me more than enough time. So, Schmo, let's rank your Chicago teams from Blackhawks, Bulls, the Cubbies, the White Sox, and your beloved Bears. Go ahead and give me your ranking on this, but you don't have to include you can include the Cubs if you want to.
Schmo, it goes tier 1, which is 1A, B, and C. and we dibble-dabble depending on the mood, the time of year, where we're at right now. We go Bulls, we go Bears, and we go White Sox. Depending on the time of the year, that goes ABC. I guess now that football season's over, right now 1A is the Schmo Chicago Bulls. We're getting close into baseball season, so White Sox can creep in there. But the Bears are always there. They're like a religion, like football. So 1B Bears, 1C White Sox. Then we'll probably have to go Blackhawks Cubs.
Oh. Well, which one gets the championship the soonest?
White Sox.
White Sox, South Side, Comiskey Park. Yeah, I know they don't call it Comiskey Park, but Comiskey Park. You guys already know. South Side, Chicago. Man, it's been a blast. This is the dude right here. But really, it's the Schmo. So, you already know, another Fanatics View exclusive with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the one and only, the Schmo. And we are gone.